Have you ever wondered what happens to milk when it's boiled until there's no moisture left? I had this insufferable question lingering in my mind and I just had to find out. So I slow cooked my milk until there's no moisture left. Curd started forming, then this solid thing, and I noticed it had oil in it. You know how much I love oil. If I can have another source of oil, I'm here for it. Yeah, that's how I ended up making ghee, and I was overjoyed. It smelled so nice, and the taste was just out of this world. So I remembered that milk actually has simple sugars in it, which meant that I could still use those remaining chunks. I added water, boiled that so that the sugars could be released into that liquid, sieved it, and of course I was going to use those chunks as well because the chunks too tasted so delicious. I sieved that and poured that liquid back into my pan and cooked it. I slow heated it under medium low heat. Okay, I'm talking way before you did that. So okay, at this point I was just collecting my chunks and was going to pop them in the oven to dry out completely because I wanted them to last. Because the taste, the flavor in them was just too good to be true. So I set that aside first. I was going to roast that later. I poured the liquid into the pan, slow cooked it under medium low heat. And I noticed it was really thickening, like the kind of thickening that happens when you're preparing sweets. So just that's exactly how I ended up making sweets purely from milk, and it's possible because milk has simple sugars. When I was slow heating the liquid, I was actually doing the crystallization process. I ended up making sweets purely from fresh raw milk from a cow, no added sugar. This is actually pretty good for people living with diabetes because it's way safer, it's way healthier. I'm not saying it's 100% healthy, but it's healthier than consuming sweets made from sucrose because of its glycemic index and all. So I wanted to make some patterns using this sweet. At first it had hardened, but I popped it in the microwave and it softened up. Then I used a flour cutter to just make those shapes, and it kind of reminded me of that game, Squid Game. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, so I broke it apart, and it was actually quite easy to remove the shapes from the rest of the sugar, and I loved how they turned out, one after another. And that's literally how I ended up making homemade sweets purely from fresh raw milk from a cow. Still had some homemade ghee, which I was going to use in my exotic recipes, and the chunks. Good day.